2020, and my name is Alejandro Zambrano. Well, we finally starting to see some good news out there. Apparently, there's a university a research team at a Chinese university that said that they found an effective drug to treat people with the coronavirus. I mean, that's amazing. If that actually is something they can roll out quickly. There's not so much news about it yet, but I guess it's going to develop over the next few hours. This news literally broke less than an hour ago, maybe 40 minutes ago, and it's definitely causing the markets to soar. We also have some UK PMI services, which are just out. Service sectors apparently doing very good. 53.9 versus the 52.9 projected, and the previous number was also 52.9 projected. I have noticed it's quite difficult to get on the on the metro and the tube this morning. I mean, not this morning, but in general. If that's any indication, well, there's a bit of an indication actually in London in general. When you see it's quiet, sometimes you can really get a bit of an idea if if everybody's busy or not. Anyway, let's take a look at the markets, and we're going to begin with the euro. And yesterday and before that, we said look to sell pretty much from here for it to go down. But I made adjustments to the entry point yesterday because we pretty much went back into entry. I don't remember exactly the level. I think it was pretty much here somewhere. Yes, I think it was 10.44, and I said that if you were not in position following this sharp rise we saw, probably you want to wait for that corrective move. Well, the market didn't really go back up again, and what I've done now is actually adjusted the sell zone a little bit lower. It was here somewhere. It's now a little bit lower at 10.63. So continue to be bearish, but obviously if you're not in a position already, there's not too much to do. I think the people that got it the best was the people that saw the sell zone last week and knew that that was an opportunity to sell, but waited until you start to see some bearish candles before actually going short. I think those were probably the ones that did the best because they probably just shorted at the highs and at least got this little bit move here. But today, again, we're moving towards support again, and it's not time to sell. I still think this makes a lot of sense to sell up here. And then the alternative is that we take out the November 14th low. Hopefully it goes down. If it does go down, it goes down, spends a day or two here, and then takes out the low. If it does that, then that will be good because it will be a simple break to a low, and that could easily give us, that little final push here of 60 pip, maybe up to 100 pip to go back to the lows of the year. And going down to much lower levels is something I talked about in the Q1 report, which is up here, this one. So you can check that out afterwards. You won't necessarily find it easily on a mobile because this doesn't show on a mobile. So you can use the quarterly market forecast on the news menu. Looking at the GBP today, it should be going up. So it's definitely up a bit, which makes perfect sense. The service sector is the most important sector of the UK, and it's up. And we had so much negative news about stores shutting down in the UK, for example, and people getting unemployed. So I'm a bit unsurprised. I'm definitely surprised about these numbers. Let's see if we can find the actual number. Let's see here. So this is the actual people that produce it. You can see how the figures punch to the upside. Business activity rises for the first time in 5 months. Robust and accelerated increase in new orders. This is important. Growth expectations continue to improve in January. So this is quite good. And you can see here, this is the composite. That's the combination. We had the manufacturing PMI out. We had the construction as well. So this is the combination, the composite of all these plus the services. You can see how that is pushing upwards. In gray here, the gray histogram in the background is domestic GDP growth. And obviously we're moving away from the lows, which is really good. And that obviously lowers the likelihood of a rate cut. Let's take a look at the uh, anticipation of a rate cut. Next rate meeting is going to be in 50 days. And the likelihood of getting a cut is just at 10%. And this data, I'm not sure is up to date because it's free software. I'm quite certain this is going to probably go down a bit more in the next few hours as this data is being updated on the back of these news. So this is actually good news, and this obviously lifts the pound a bit. And from a technical perspective, as you know, we're looking for this to break to the downside, and if it would break to the downside, it'll probably go down. But we're not pushing back into the middle of this range, and we're dealing with a nice and good rectangle pattern. This is what it is. The pattern difference itself is, let me see, should be 264 pip. So you're looking for either a bullish or a bearish break. And this is a nice little healthy rectangle. We just need to wait and see what's going to happen, bullish or bearish. Very straightforward. Dollar yen, obviously on the news, this thing jumps. Okay, on the news that they find something, some sort of effective drug against the coronavirus. If they can roll that out, we can probably see higher moves. We'll see what happens. You know, most people say when you do vaccines, it takes up to 12 months. This is a bit different. This is something to actually sort of maybe neutralize someone or neutralize the virus of someone that's already sick. So this is a bit different than being preventive. And it's obviously very good news if it's actually true. A coronavirus is very similar to a coronavirus belongs to the same family to the normal flu, right? So we still have problems with that. So I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. You know what? It's a bit difficult with these headlines. It's a little bit when, you know, President Trump tweets, he says something, and then the market reacts, and then 24 hours later, when things have settled, the people try to sorry, someone just opened the door. That's why got a little bit lost my focus there. Things come and go. Let's just see 24 hours and see if this settles. I can tell you here from a technical and trading point of view, you know, you do obviously have a bit of bullish momentum of this candle, which is 109.29. But it's not really an ideal level to buy. It's way short term for me at least. I think this will come up to 110, and I think over here is probably a good little spot to book profits. And if you're looking to get involved, I don't know if you can see it, but the trend finding level was here, and then it was lift upwards, and then, you know, let it go down. I think 50 at least, but my preference is a 61.8% move of this current rally. And it's you see the market soaring. It's not just here. You can see it in many other pairs which have been oversold, like the New Zealand dollar, like the Aussie dollar. And I do think it makes sense to actually be a bit careful with selling those pairs. In fact, I would not sell them. See what happens over the next day or two, and then see if we can do something. Now this is gold. And gold, as you know, we were dealing with an uptrend, and you know we did quite good here when the market turned upwards. We said about buying here and buying here, and then on the third time looking to buy, the market actually slid just straight through, and I took out my trade finding level. Now if you look at this more bigger picture time frame, this is a daily chart. You have you have this sort of uptrend. Actually, those trend line was not good. Let's do like this. It's quite normal. You have these corrective phases in the market, like that one, and then you have this one here. Okay, so those are the corrective moves, and we had that push, but we haven't had a strong corrective move. I suspect we could potentially have a bit of a corrective move here. That's why I'm actually neutral today. I don't have a strong view, especially as well because we took out my trend finding level. I suspect that if we are above 1535 by tomorrow, then maybe we could turn bullish and target the midpoint. But then this will be treated like a range, and that will be it. The alternative is that we have a bigger slide. We go down to the 50% to the 61.8, and maybe from here try to rebuild the position. Crude oil, quite a significant push. As you know, I've been tracking these highs, and isn't it typical market? It creates and breaks lower, tries to break out from this massive rectangle, but then at the end of the day is saved by this piece of data, piece of news telling us that they found some cure. And that's obviously very good news for crude oil bulls. And I do think that we could have maybe a bit of a short squeeze. And I think if we do take out 51.97, so if we close somewhere up here, then that will probably, this whole thing would be viewed as a false move. I think if we look at it a weekly, look at that, this is the weekly candle. And my trend funding level is just above the weekly candle. So it's all going to turn into a bullish candle if we close above 51.97. And that would just view this as a big false move. And then effectively, if that's the case, then we can probably trade all the way up to 55 and maybe all the way up to 56.90, because this whole thing would be saved and we'll be back into that. So that's really what I would be focusing on. Now, if you think this whole thing is just fake news or whatever, you don't believe that, then obviously you would probably be selling up here, targeting the lows. All right, this is the German DAX. The German DAX is literally on fire on the news. And we said a few days ago, if you're very bullish, you look to buy here. And if you are bearish, then you just wait and see for that break effectively. That's what I said. And I said we can go up a little bit more. Obviously, that news came out, and now the market is really excited. But unless you bought here on this scenario we talked about a few days ago, then you probably too late, unfortunately. We're very close to the highs. It's probably going to go a little bit higher, but this will be a good opportunity to book all of it. And then we'll see if we take out this high, we can probably turn bullish again. As for the Dow that we've been covering lately, we're dealing with this inverse head and shoulders with the head, left, and right shoulder. Draw that trend line, you can see we took out that high, okay? We took out the high, and we now triggered what we called a failed inverse head and shoulders, which is the difference between the neckline and the head, and you add that to the right shoulder, and that gives you that target. And then, yeah, so it's looking quite bullish now. And what can you do then if you want to get involved? So it really depends on your outlook on this piece of news. So if we have a situation where this is true, all this news from this university and something they can implement, then what will happen is that people will buy a pullback towards that breakout level. So they will potentially buy from 28,942, and stops are probably going to go just below this low. So that's sort of your game plan, down and up, if you think that this news is true. If you don't really think this news is true, I mean, you still wouldn't necessarily be selling here or do nothing. You would just wait. It's always good sometimes to wait and see, especially with these events, because it's such an event that it changes things quite dramatically. And don't forget as well, on Friday we have non-farm payrolls, so it tends to be a bit choppy. And then after the non-farm payrolls, I mean, if the non-farm payrolls is really good, people get super excited. If the non-farm payrolls is bad, people get very negative again. And then the week after that, there's usually not too much important data, and then the market just trades more technical again. Okay, let's see if you guys have any questions. See if I can help you in any way. So we got Maurizio here. Good morning to you, sir. And we have True Invention, and we have VS saying good morning as well. So True Invention, one market per person. I do have premium stuff as well. This is the free one. So I'll do one, and I'll start with Euro Pound. I think that's what you wanted me to cover, I guess. Or just a comment. Otherwise, it's natural gas. Okay, we'll do this. We'll cover both today. So we'll do that. Okay. So Euro Pound. Yeah, Euro Pound should be on its way lower on the news that the UK service sector is doing much better than anticipated. Remember though, the service sector, the way it works, just so you understand, is a leading indicator. It's literally people filling out forms, and then they will tell you what if things are going better. So it's not what we call hard data. Don't forget that GDP numbers for November were negative. So they were negative, those numbers. And if you look at much of the other numbers out, they were in the hard data, it's negative. I think what's happening here could potentially be more of a enthusiasm about the future, where people think, all right, Brexit is done and dusted, maybe things are gonna be better now. Of course, when they fill out these forms, they shouldn't really be doing that. They should be like, all right, I did actually hire more people, or I did produce more, and that's really what's important here. And the numbers were negatively up until November. So it's a bit weird that literally we hit February. Decent numbers, yeah, for February, and everybody's super excited again. But let's see. I hope I'm wrong. And what can we tell about this? If we try to apply this to the big picture stuff here. Well, this is your euro pound. So the euro pound is within this massive rectangle. It did try to break below this level here as well, and I think, I mean, I think the way things are going now, if we do trade below the low here, we'll probably leave this big range behind, which would probably cause the market to go down, and it might go down even with some 12% or so, and then it will effectively take us back to this is the level from the referendum. That was a referendum day. So this could probably happen. It wouldn't surprise me, especially if we have this good data. People get excited, they push price lower, and then we'll see, but most likely later, when people start to focus again on the trade negotiations, then wouldn't surprise me if the pound would come back under pressure at that point. Looking at this today, yeah, we traded a little bit lower, but there's no momentum in this pair. There's no activity, so I wouldn't trade this one. Okay, we have natural gas, and gas, I think it's called. Okay, so this is natural gas, and natural gas is stuck here. There's not a lot of activity here either. We're still dealing with a downtrend. Let's take a look at it from a bigger picture perspective. So we're heading towards this low here, and the reason for this is just a huge oversupply. And the reports by Bloomberg literally 3 weeks ago, that they were saying that people that produce crude oil as a byproduct to get natural gas, and this natural gas, they don't really want it, and they have to pay to get rid of it, because all the production facilities and all the pipelines are so busy producing or dealing with natural gas already, so people can't accept it. So what they do is that they put the natural gas on fire, what's called flaring. Alternatively, they're paying for someone to take it from them. That's how oversupply this market is. And by the looks of it, we're not seeing the market here. There's no one really buying it right now. We're seeing that it really struggles to trade lower, but for me, this is still a downtrend. But yeah, we're seeing some sort of attacks to the downside, and people go up like that, and that's a little bit of an indication that maybe trying to bottom out, but we're not there yet. We need to take out 1.96 for this to turn really, really bullish and take out the highs. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap things up. Let me see here if there's anything else. We have Radha. Hello to you, and hello to everybody else. He says, "Good morning, guys. I'm very happy that there's so many people here, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow, same time. Very straightforward as well. Don't forget to click on that button, and then hit that like button over here. Have a great day, guys, and stay safe out trading. Thank you, and bye bye."